A sharp, piercing pain shot through my chest, like an invisible hand crushing my heart before violently tightening its grip. The computer screen before me began to blur. My colleagues' voices discussing the project plan drifted away, sounding like they were coming from underwater. A high-pitched ringing filled my ears, and darkness gradually swallowed my vision. I knew it. I was dying. In the final second before my consciousness completely dissipated, the last thought that flashed through my mind was the debt collection text from the bank. That glaring, bright red negative number represented a despair I couldn't repay even if I worked myself to death. "Jane? You zoning out?" A soft, familiar voice pulled me back from the endless darkness. I snapped my eyes open, the harsh fluorescent light forcing me to squint instinctively. The agonizing pain in my chest was gone, replaced by the powerful, rhythmic thumping of my heart. I was alive. I looked around. It was the familiar grid of cubicles, the air thick with the smell of stale coffee and printer toner. Not far away, colleagues were whispering. Everything was exactly the same as the scene right before I died. "Jane, you look terrible. Did you pull another all-nighter? Here, drink some water. You need to stay hydrated." A pale hand extended a bottle of mineral water toward me, condensation clinging to the plastic. I followed the hand up to see a face wearing a sweet smile. My coworker, Bella. It was this face in my memories of my past life that had looked at me with such concern countless times. She would bring me hot takeout when I worked late. She would gently comfort me when the boss chewed me out. She would volunteer to help when I was overwhelmed with projects. She was my only friend in this cold city, my BFF. And she was the one who destroyed everything. My eyes locked onto that bottle of water. All the details I had ignored in my past life now flooded my mind with cinematic clarity. It started right around the time she first began bringing me food. That was when the money in my bank account started disappearing inexplicably. At first, it was just a few $100. I thought I'd messed up my budget. Then it was a few thousand. Bank statements showed withdrawals made by me at ATMs, but I had never been there. Then, the 20 grand I had painstakingly saved for my mom's surgery evaporated overnight. I called the cops, went to the bank, did everything I could. But all the evidence pointed to me. The surveillance footage showed someone who looked exactly like me withdrawing the cash, down to the way I walked. The police and the bank thought I was having a mental breakdown. Even my family started to suspect me. From that moment on, my life plummeted into the abyss. To pay off the debt and cover my mother's medical bills, I took on insane amounts of freelance work, grinding day and night, trading my health for a meager paycheck. Bella, meanwhile, was living her best life. She got the latest iPhone, started carrying designer bags I could only stare at through shop windows, and posted photos of her European vacation on her social feed. Her caption read, "Work hard so you can treat yourself better." It wasn't until I died from overwork, my soul drifting through the office, that I heard her talking to her boyfriend. That Jane was such an idiot. Drained her for every last cent, and she just drops dead. Useless. Babe, don't be mad. Her little savings weren't enough for you anyway. Thanks to that asset siphon system, you bound. As long as she eats or drinks something you give her, her savings transfer to your account without a trace. Picked a new target yet? Of course. I've got my eyes on that new intern in our department, the trust fund kid. His family is loaded. So that was it. All my misery was just a game to her. Jane. Bella's voice cut through again, tinged with impatience. What's wrong? You feeling okay? I slowly raised my head to meet her seemingly innocent eyes. Deep down, I saw a flash of greed and calculation. I took the cold bottle of water from her hand. The chill from the plastic spread through my fingertips to my limbs, but it was nothing compared to the chill in my heart. I smiled, mirroring her sweet expression. Thanks, Bella. You're so good to me. Bella smiled with satisfaction and patted my shoulder. We're sisters, right? Drink up. I nodded and cracked the cap open, but I didn't drink. Bella, in the last life, you used me as an XP farm for your system upgrade. You treated my life savings like pocket change for your handbags and watched me die in despair. But what's the fun in just stealing my meager savings? In this life, since God gave me a second chance, I'm going to play a much bigger game with you. I placed the opened water bottle on the corner of my desk, and pretended to deal with urgent work, but kept Bella in my peripheral vision. She glanced over several times. Seeing I hadn't taken a sip, a hint of anxiety flickered in her eyes. Of course she was anxious. Today, in the previous timeline, was the day a large sum, the $5,000 for my mom's surgery, disappeared. She was probably desperate to see that money hit her account. I sneered internally but kept my face blank. Just then, the director's assistant messaged the department group chat, notifying all interns to report to the large conference room on the 32nd floor to prep for the afternoon's executive strategy meeting. Here was my chance. I stood up, grabbed my files and that bottle of water, and gave Bella an apologetic smile. "Bella, I gotta run. I'll drink this later." Before she could respond, I turned and left my cubicle. I knew that as long as I held on to the water, she wouldn't make a move yet. Apex Capital, a top-tier investment bank, was located in a skyscraper in the heart of Manhattan's financial district. The strategy conference room on the 32nd floor boasted a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city's skyline. This was the seat of power. Intern work was tedious. Setting up the venue was part of the grind. We had to place metal nameplates engraved with the executives' names at their designated spots, along with unopened water bottles, notepads, and pens. 2 other interns were working with me. We split the tasks and quickly got everything ready. I specifically chose to arrange the water for the head table. While the other 2 were fiddling with the projector with their backs to me, I walked to the center seat. The nameplate there bore a legendary name, Lucius Sterling, founder and chairman of Apex Capital, a legend in the financial world who could summon rain and storms with a wave of his hand. Known for his ruthless methods and volatile temper, he was an absolute tyrant in the eyes of his employees. I looked at the nameplate and took a deep breath. He was the one. My heart pounded with a mix of nerves and excitement, but the hand holding the water bottle was steady. I quickly glanced around to ensure no one was watching. Then, with a speed that almost left an afterimage, I swapped the water bottle I brought from my desk, the one bound by Bella's system, with the unopened bottle at Lucius Sterling's seat. The packaging was identical. The only difference was that the cap of my bottle had been cracked open. To avoid leaving any clues, I carefully twisted the cap back, so it looked perfectly sealed. Done. I straightened up as if nothing happened, hid Sterling's original water bottle in my file folder, and continued with the rest of the work. The whole thing took less than 10 seconds, but my palms were slick with cold sweat. This wasn't simple revenge, it was a high-stakes gamble. I was betting that Bella's so-called system would still work against Lucius Sterling's astronomical wealth. I was betting that the storm I was about to ignite, one that would sweep through Apex Capital, would completely devour my enemy. Back at my desk, Bella immediately leaned over. She scanned my table, didn't see the water, and asked casually, "Jane, did you finish the water?" I nodded, shaking my empty thermos. "Yeah. It was so dry in the conference room, I chugged it. Thanks again." Hearing this, a brilliant smile of relief bloomed on Bella's face. She linked her arm through mine affectionately. "Don't mention it. I'll buy you another one later." Her phone screen lit up. I guess she was checking her bank account. However, the massive deposit she expected didn't appear. Her smile stiffened for a second before returning to natural. She probably thought the system was lagging. I watched her pretend to be calm and silently counted down in my head. "Don't rush, Bella. A feast tailored just for you is about to be served." At 2 p.m., Apex Capital's monthly executive strategy meeting began promptly. I was lucky enough to be assigned as the recording clerk by the director, allowing me to sit in the far corner of the conference room and witness the coming storm firsthand. Around the massive oval table sat the heads of every department. Dressed in sharp suits with serious expressions, every one of them was a heavy hitter on Wall Street. Sitting at the head of the table was Lucius Sterling. He looked to be in his early 50s, hair slicked back perfectly, eyes sharp as a hawk's. He exuded authority without saying a word. Just him sitting there made the atmosphere in the room oppressive. Bella wasn't qualified to attend a meeting of this level. Right now, she was likely sitting at her desk, pretending to work while frantically refreshing her banking app. My gaze bypassed the elite faces and locked firmly onto the mineral water near Lucius Sterling's hand. That was the water of destiny I had prepared for him. The meeting started. Department directors gave their reports one by one. Sterling flipped through files as he listened, occasionally interrupting to ask sharp questions that left people stammering. Several directors were sweating bullets in front of him. Time ticked by. My palms began to sweat too. Sterling's speeches were always long and dense, and he had a habit of drinking water. I remembered from previous meetings that he would go through at least a whole bottle. But today he didn't seem thirsty. An hour passed. His voice was getting raspy after his lengthy opening remarks, yet the water in front of him remained untouched. My heart rose to my throat. Did something go wrong? Was he sick? Did he stop drinking cold water? Countless thoughts raced through my mind, but I forced myself to stay calm. The plan was in motion, the only thing I could do was wait. Another half-hour passed. It was the risk control director's turn. Maybe the report was too dry, but Sterling looked bored. He leaned back in his chair, his long fingers drumming unconsciously on the table. Finally, he reached out and grabbed the bottle. My breathing almost stopped. Everyone else was focused on the PowerPoint. No one noticed the chairman's small movement. Except me. I watched him twist the cap and bring the bottle to his lips. Just then, his personal assistant hurried in and whispered something in his ear. Sterling frowned, put the water down, stood up, and followed the assistant out of the room. My heart sank to the bottom of the ocean. So close. The meeting was paused for about 15 minutes. Sitting in the corner, my hands and feet felt ice cold. Did God give me a second chance only to deny me the luck for revenge? Just as I was about to give up, the door opened. Sterling walked back in, his face even darker than before. He sat down and waved a hand for the meeting to continue. Maybe whatever happened outside had agitated him, because he looked parched. He picked up the water again. This time he didn't hesitate. Gulp, gulp. I clearly heard the sound of him swallowing. He drank it. He actually drank it. I lowered my head to hide the uncontrollable smirk curling the corners of my mouth. At the same time, the burner phone in my pocket vibrated slightly. That was the system notification I used to get in my past life whenever my savings were transferred. Although there was no text, I'd remember that specific vibration pattern until I died. Only this time, I didn't get a debit alert from my bank. The real storm was about to descend on a different level, in a much more thrilling way. I looked up at the massive LED screen at the front of the room, which was displaying real-time asset data for Apex Capital's various funds and investments. 3 seconds after Sterling took that sip, the steady blue line representing the company's total assets suddenly, without warning, turned into a vertical red line plunging straight to the bottom. In an instant, all the data turned a shocking bloody red. The conference room fell deathly silent. Everyone stared at the screen dumbfounded, as if witnessing the apocalypse. I knew the game had begun. IT. Where the hell is IT? After the brief silence, the CTO, who was closest to the screen, exploded. He practically roared the words, his face pale, his voice trembling. Check it now. Find out what the hell is going on immediately. The room erupted. The executives abandoned their usual dignity, pulling out phones in panic to scream at their subordinates. Ringing phones, anxious shouts, and gasps of disbelief mixed together, turning the conference room into a pressure cooker about to blow. Were we hacked? Where's the firewall? Suspend all trading. Close all ports. Hurry. Check the backup servers. Is the data backed up? Amidst the chaos, only 2 people were unusually quiet. One was me. I sat in the corner, playing the part of the terrified intern, head down, letting my long hair hide the grin that was stretching to my ears. The other was Lucius Sterling. He sat motionless at the head of the table, like a petrified statue. His eyes were glued to the zeroed-out numbers on the screen, numbers that represented half a lifetime of blood and sweat. His gaze was empty, lost. The capital empire he built with his own hands had turned to ash the moment he took a sip of water. This was worse than killing him. The phone in my pocket kept buzzing continuously. Every vibration was like a beautiful note in a symphony, announcing that astronomical wealth was flowing from the Apex Capital Empire into a tiny, unauthorized reservoir. And the owner of that reservoir was probably losing her mind right now. I could almost picture Bella. She must be sitting at her cubicle, staring at the balance on her banking app jumping frantically. At first, maybe she felt ecstasy, thinking she hooked a big fish. But as the number jumped from 7 figures to 8, then 9, 10, surpassing anything her brain could comprehend, that ecstasy would turn into boundless terror. Her petty greed had accidentally detonated a nuclear bomb, and she was standing at ground zero. The door burst open. The head of IT stumbled in, practically crawling. He forgot to knock, sweat pouring down his face like rain. "Chairman Sterling, it's bad," he gasped, his voice cracking with tears. "Our core database has been wiped. It wasn't a hack. No external intrusion traces. The data just vanished." Vanished. Sterling finally reacted. He turned his head slowly, his voice rasping like sandpaper. "You're telling me hundreds of billions of dollars just vanished into thin air?" His voice wasn't loud, but it carried a chilling menace. The IT had dropped to his knees. We checked all the logs. The data flow in the final second. It went to an internal personal account. Sterling's eyes narrowed, shooting out a terrifying cold light. "Whose?" Trembling, the IT head said the name. "It's an intern in the investment development department named Bella." The moment the words fell, I saw Sterling's pupils contract. In my heart, I offered Bella a sincere eulogy. "Congratulations, Bella. How does it feel to become a billionaire overnight?" When the name Bella was spoken, I could almost hear the gears of fate click into place, locking her firmly into the defendant's chair. The lucky girl's reaction was even better than I anticipated. I made an excuse to go to the bathroom and slipped out of the chaotic conference room. Passing the investment department, I saw a crowd gathered around a cubicle, pointing and whispering. Bella was at the center of the storm. She was slumped in her chair, face as white as a sheet, lips bloodless, eyes unfocused. She looked like a puppet with its strings cut. Her hand still clutched her phone, but it looked like a red-hot iron she was too terrified to drop. The screen was still lit, displaying her banking app. The dizzying string of zeros was a lethal curse, nailing her in place. "Oh my God, am I seeing this right? How many zeros is that? Where did she get that kind of money? Isn't she an intern like us?" I heard IT shouting her name upstairs. "Does the missing company money have something to do with her?" The colleagues' whispers were needles pricking Bella's fragile nerves. She snapped her head up, eyes full of terror and pleading. When her gaze swept over the crowd and landed on me, she lunged as if grabbing a lifeline. Jane, save me." She grabbed my arm, nails digging deep into my flesh. "I don't know what happened. I really don't. This money isn't mine." Watching her on the verge of collapse gave me a twisted sense of pleasure. I pulled my arm back, feigning confusion and concern. "Bella, calm down. What happened? What money?" I played dumb. "This money." She practically shoved the phone in my face, screeching. "It just ran into my account. I didn't do anything." "Really? You have to believe me." Colleagues cast strange looks clearly. No one bought her story. I looked at her, sighed softly, and spoke with a mix of pity and helplessness. "Bella, don't scare me. How could that much money just run into your account? Did you do something you shouldn't have?" My words were a bucket of ice water extinguishing her last spark of hope. She froze, looking at me in disbelief, lips trembling. "Jane, even you don't believe me?" I didn't answer, offering only a complex stare. Just then, several men in suits pushed through the crowd. Leading them was the general counsel. He looked at Bella expressionlessly. "Ms. Bella, the chairman wants to see you. Please come with us." Bella's body jerked. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed to the floor. "No, I won't go," she screamed, throwing a tantrum like a child. "It wasn't me. It really wasn't me." Legal had no patience. 2 large security guards hoisted her up by her arms, dragging her toward the elevators for the 32nd floor. As she was dragged away, she screamed hysterically, looking back at me with despair. Jane, explain it to them. Tell them it wasn't me." I stood there, watching her disappear into the elevator. Then I slowly raised my hand, rubbed the spot on my arm where she had pinched me, and let a cold smile curl my lips. Bella, in the last life, when I was pushed to the brink and begging for help, Where were you? When I cried asking to borrow money for my mom's treatment, what did you say? Oh, Jane, bad timing. All my money is tied up in investments. You have to be strong. Your version of strong was watching me die. Now it's your turn. After Bella was taken away, the company fell into a solidified panic. Apex Capital, the aircraft carrier of the financial world, had hit an iceberg and was sinking fast. The IT department had gone mad. All programmers were recalled, staring helplessly at meaningless code. Accounting was wailing, veteran accountants cried over blank ledgers. The trading floor phones were exploding with angry clients. News that Apex Capital was insolvent spread like a virus through Wall Street. The stock price crashed in overseas markets, halved in an instant. The dominoes were falling. And I, the architect of this chaos, moved through it like a ghost. I went back to my desk, opened my computer, and started working as if the outside world didn't exist. I needed to play the innocent, scared in turn perfectly. During a break in my fake work, I did something crucial. I opened my banking app and transferred the remaining $800 I had earned from part-time jobs to my mom. Then I unlinked all my cards, logged out of Venmo and PayPal, and factory reset my phone. Done. I felt a heavy burden lift. Bella's system was weird. It seemed to only target electronic funds. In the last life, I realized cash didn't disappear, which was why I had to work day labor for cash payments. This time, I emptied my accounts in advance. Bella, even if you survive Lucius Sterling's interrogation, you won't get a cent from me. I severed the last connection between us. At 4 p.m., an internal email announced that due to a malicious technical failure, all employees were to work from home until further notice. Everyone knew work from home was just a polite way of saying the company was collapsing. People silently packed their things. The office was gloomy. Many had spent half their lives here, only to watch it crumble. I had nothing to pack. My belongings fit in a canvas tote. I said goodbye to a few work friends and got in the elevator. Through the glass, I saw the city at dusk. The setting sun painted the clouds a brilliant gold. It was beautiful. In my last life, I was too exhausted to appreciate scenery. My mind had been consumed with paying debts. Now, I could stand here peacefully, admiring the ruin I had created. I walked out of the lobby. It was swarming with reporters. Flashbulbs popped blindingly, illuminating faces filled with anxiety or schadenfreude. I pulled my hoodie up, lowered my head, and walked quickly away from the skyscraper that was about to become rubble. The air outside was fresh. I took a deep breath, feeling a thrill I'd never felt before. Lucius Sterling, Bella, your judgment day has just begun. And I will be in the audience, enjoying every second of the show. The next 2 days were eerily calm for me. I stayed in my tiny rental apartment, phone off, cut off from the world. I needed time to process my rebirth and a safe place to ride out the coming storm. The outside world, however, was in upheaval. The news of Apex Capital's vanishing assets dominated headlines. Theories flew everywhere. Hackers, Sterling embezzling funds and fleeing, even aliens. But the most popular version pointed to the chosen one, Bella. An unremarkable intern with hundreds of billions in her account was the story of the century. Her photos, resume, and embarrassing college stories were dug up by internet sleuths. The media dubbed her the greediest intern in history. I knew Sterling was manipulating the narrative. He needed a scapegoat, and Bella fit the bill perfectly. On the morning of the third day, I turned my phone on. Dozens of missed calls and hundreds of texts flooded in. But the majority were from the police. I ignored everyone else and called my mom first. Hey Mom, did you get the money? I got it. Jane, why do you keep sending money? You work so hard. I'm fine, Mom. Everything is good. I hung up, feeling relieved. Then I calmly called the police back. A detective with a steady voice identified himself and asked me to come in to assist with the investigation regarding the Apex Capital theft. Expected. I dressed in simple clothes, wore no makeup, and took a cab to the station. Inside the interrogation room, I saw 2 people, Detective Zhang and a haggard Bella. She was in a gray prison uniform, handcuffed. She looked 10 years older, her eyes full of venom and madness. Seeing me, she jumped up screaming, "It's her! It's Jane! She did it! She framed me. Arrest her. Sit down. A young officer slammed her back into the chair. I pretended to be terrified, glancing at Detective Zhang. Officer, I don't know what she's talking about. Zhang gestured for me to sit. You're Jane? We understand you were Bella's best friend at the company. I nodded. Yes. We started together. She took care of me. Did you notice anything unusual about her on the day of the incident? I looked down, pretending to think hard. Unusual, maybe a little. That morning she gave me a bottle of water, said I looked tired. But I didn't drink it right away, and she seemed anxious, rushing me to drink it several times. Bella exploded again. Yes. That water. She switched the water with the chairman. She did it. Detective Zhang frowned and looked at me. Is that true? Did you switch the water? I met his gaze, eyes clear and innocent. I shook my head. I didn't. I drank that water myself. Liar. Bella screamed. You didn't drink it. You took it away. I ignored her and addressed the detective. That afternoon, I was setting up the conference room. I got thirsty, so I drank the water Bella gave me. As for the chairman's water, the interns placed unopened bottles for everyone. My colleagues can testify to that. My story was logical and seamless. I did drink Bella's water just via Lucius Sterling. And I did place the water on Sterling's desk. Technically, I told no lies, but I constructed a reality entirely different from the truth. Detective Zhang clearly believed the quiet, articulate girl over the raving lunatic. The interrogation hit a deadlock. Suddenly, a young officer entered and whispered to Zhang. Zhang's face turned grave. He looked at me sharply. Jane, Lucius Sterling just confessed. He wants to see you. Sterling wanted to see me? I froze. A bad feeling rose in my chest. Sterling wasn't Bella. He was an old fox in the business world, cunning and cruel. If he wanted to see me, he had found a hole in my story or hatched a new plot. Zhang sensed my hesitation. Don't worry, our officers will be present. But he accuses you of conspiring with Bella to steal company assets. He says you have key evidence. Conspiring with Bella? I almost laughed. But I understood his play. He wanted to drag me down to muddy the waters. If he couldn't be proven as the sole mastermind, he might wiggle out. He had capital backing him. I couldn't let him succeed. Okay, I said. I'll see him. I was taken to a more upscale interview room. Lucius Sterling wasn't in a prison uniform, yet he still wore his custom suit, though he looked disheveled. He sat across the table, fingers interlaced, staring at me with hawkish eyes. Jane, he rasped. I underestimated you. I stayed silent. That idiot Bella was just the gun, he sneered. You were the one pulling the trigger, right? My heart skipped a beat. No need to deny it. I checked. You and Bella had beef back in college over a grad school recommendation. You held a grudge, used her greed, and planned all this. I understood. He was weaving a motive for me, revenge. In this story, Bella was the greedy accomplice. I was the evil mastermind, and Sterling was the victim. Clever. You're smart, he continued. You knew Bella would be the target. But, his eyes turned vicious. You're too young. Did you think destroying Apex Capital would be the end of it? He tossed a stack of files at me. These are the projects you handled. I had legal check them. Several show traces of data leaks matching the times you accessed them. He leaned forward, voice dropping to a snake-like hiss. Jane, I'm giving you a chance. Confess to how you and Bella did it. I'll let you take a lesser charge. My lawyers can get you out in a few years. But if you refuse, he threatened, stealing trade secrets and assets will put you away for life. Your parents will never be able to hold their heads up again. Threatening my family. How despicable. How familiar. In the last life, Bella used the same, for your own good tone to stop me from investigating the theft. I looked up, meeting his arrogant gaze and smiled slowly. Chairman Sterling, I said softly. You said all that just to make me your scapegoat. But you missed one thing, I'm innocent. His confidence froze, replaced by annoyance. Innocent? With this evidence? Evidence? I flipped through the files. Chairman, you mean these traces? Many colleagues accessed these. How can you be sure it was me? Besides, I looked him in the eye. I'm just an intern. I don't have access to the core network. How could I steal the whole company's assets? Isn't the accusation ridiculous? My calm rattled him. Sharp tongue. He slammed the table. Jane, one last chance. I know your background. Your mother is sick. You need money. Do you dare say you never thought about stealing? He was attacking my character now. Yes, I was poor. Yes, I needed money. But that wasn't a reason for crime. I took a deep breath. Chairman, my family is poor. I do need money. But that is exactly the proof that I wouldn't commit a crime. Sterling paused. I stood up, voice ringing clearly. Because I'm poor, I'm more afraid of losing everything than anyone else. I studied hard, got into a top university, and fought to intern at Apex just to give my family a better life. I walk on thin ice every day. Why would I gamble my entire life and destroy the hope I worked so hard for? My voice choked up slightly. It was half acting, half truth. The room fell silent. Even the recording officer looked at me with sympathy. Sterling was speechless. He couldn't refute the simple logic of a struggler's survival instinct. It was a world he couldn't understand. The standoff continued. I felt isolated, standing on a cliff edge. But I knew I wasn't fighting alone. Before I walked into this room, I had pushed the final button. Invisible reinforcements, stronger than Sterling's capital, were on their way. Rewind to when I got the police call. I used a burner phone without a SIM card, connected to public Wi-Fi, and sent 2 anonymous emails. One to the Economic Crime Investigation Squad, one to the IRS. The content was my legacy from my past life. Back then, working late nights, I became the invisible shadow of the office. I saw things interns shouldn't see. Once, helping Sterling's secretary piece together shredded documents, I saw account numbers linked to offshore shell companies in the Cayman Islands. In this life, those memories resurfaced. I compiled every clue: offshore accounts, tax evasion schemes, money laundering methods, into those emails. I was an anonymous whistleblower. This was asymmetrical warfare. He wanted to drag me into a personal feud. I escalated it to federal financial crime. When the state machine engages, his lawyers become useless. After sending the emails, I destroyed the phone and tossed it in a sewer. Then I walked into the police station. Back in the room, Sterling switched tactics to bribery. He promised money if I cooperated. I just watched the clock, waiting for the cavalry. Jane, my patience is limited. Sterling paced like a caged beast. Walk out of here, and I have ways to make you unemployable. Your family will pay. Mr. Sterling, watch your words. Detective Zhang warned. Sterling sneered. So what? No evidence, no crime. But her? One word from me and she's ruined. My fists clenched under the table. This was the power of capital. Just then, bang! The door flew open. A group of officers in dark blue uniforms stormed in. They weren't regular cops. Their badges identified them as the Economic Crime Investigation Squad, the feds. The leader, a square-faced man, walked straight to Sterling and unfolded a warrant. Lucius Sterling, his voice boomed. We received a tip. You are suspected of massive illegal fundraising, financial fraud, and money laundering. You're coming with us. 2 officers clamped handcuffs onto Sterling's wrists. Click. Sterling was stunned. His arrogance vanished, replaced by terror. Who are you? You have no evidence. The leader looked at him coldly. We will soon. Take him away. Sterling was dragged out like a dead dog. Passing me, he looked at me with sheer disbelief, muttering, "Impossible." He would never figure out how the system found him so fast. The room quieted. I unclenched my fist. My palm was bleeding from my nails, but I felt no pain. Sterling's arrest by the feds changed everything. The narrative shifted from mysterious theft to money laundering and fraud. Public opinion boiled over. Bella's situation became ambiguous. Was she a thief or a pawn? I asked to see her again. I needed to see her end. In a private holding room, Bella looked broken. Jane, she rasped. You did this, right? I stayed silent. She laughed maniacally. I knew it. You were reborn, weren't you? Give me back my stuff. She lunged at me. I dodged and she hit the floor. Your stuff. I looked down at her. Bella, your system was built on the blood of others. Did you ever care about the people you destroyed? I don't care if they die, she screamed. The world is survival of the fittest. They were weak, they deserved it. What did I do wrong? She was unrepentant. You weren't wrong, I said slowly. You were just stupid. You thought you had a cheat code, but you swallowed a nuke instead. She broke completely, screaming about the system and rebirth until officers dragged her down. She seems mentally unstable, I told Detective Zhang. She was insane. A parasite stripped of its host. The investigation revealed the truth. The asset siphon system was a tool Sterling commissioned hackers to build to rob his enemies. Bella, by sheer accident, had bound to it. When I switched the water, Bella's system robbed its own creator. A snake biting its own tail. Sterling received a life sentence. His empire was seized. Bella was diagnosed with schizophrenia, but deemed fit for trial. She got 10 years. I received a substantial whistleblower reward. Months later, the noise faded. I paid off my family's debts and got my mom the best medical care. She recovered. I quit finance. I used the remaining money to open a small flower shop near a university and enrolled in a jewelry design course. One sunny afternoon, while sketching a design, I got a call. Jane, it's Detective Zhang. Hello, Detective. Bella committed suicide in the prison ward this morning. I felt a faint ripple, but no waves. I see. We found a diary. She wrote that you stole her life. I held the phone silent. Jane, Zhang said kindly, let the past go. Your life is just starting. I know. Thank you. I hung up and looked out the window at the students running in the sun. Bella said I stole her life. She didn't know that her life was built on stealing mine. I didn't steal anything. I just took back the piece that belonged to me. I picked up my pen. The unfinished ring on the paper sparkled in the sunlight. I smiled truly, for the first time since my rebirth.